Welcome everybody, and you're welcome to wander around the house. Okay, ready? Hello everyone. I'm Ingrid. You've probably seen descriptions. It's how I'm described, at least by the Knysna Festival. Probably different from the way I describe myself. But I'm the only poet on this whole session that you're going to. You've just had a bit of crime, I gather, with my poem. And you're going on to quite a bit more crime. I'm the crime relief. Poets don't write that much about crime, although I do have one or two poems that I could have thrown in as crime poems. But that's not my specialty. I live in Cape Town, and when I'm not writing poetry, I work at the University of Cape Town in adult education. And I've been writing for a very long time. Unlike crime novelists, it's very hard to describe one's own poetry. It's not quite the same set of self-definitions when you write poetry, because people read poetry in very different ways. It hasn't got a plot in the same way. So when I say I write a certain kind of poetry, you may end up disagreeing with me and saying you don't do that at all. And that would be right to think so. But I write mainly lyrical poetry. I don't write rap poetry, which, you know, might have made it alive. So I write quite traditional lyrical poetry out of a long, mainly English, Anglo-American, and Irish, I suppose, tradition of short poems that mainly deal with perception, the internal life and perception. I'm also particularly interested in the public world and how in private life we encounter the public world. So I've written what some people might call political poems, but I'm interested in approaching the political world through the prism of the personal, the intimate. I'm not interested in great propagandistic work, although some very great poems did that, including John Milton and all sorts of people. But I'm far more interested in how, through an ordinary observation, one's understanding of one's environment is enlarged. So lyrical poetry traditionally tries to change perception or consciousness in the most minute way, through language, not through the pressure of ideas, but the pressure of rhythm, the pressure of language itself, the way the words are put together. And that's why so few people read it. So very few poets make a living writing, and I think there's some odd way in this new environment where everything sells that's perhaps even protected the art, but I know there are people who would disagree with me, and I'm not suggesting I would like to sell thousands of copies of books. So that's my general description of my own work. And I thought, because I don't want to just talk in general about poetry, it seems a bit of a waste of time, and because we're in such a beautiful environment, I thought I'd read a few poems that deal with kind of natural subjects in South Africa, but always through a particular individual set of observations. But I'm going to read first a poem from a new book that's just come out. The poem's called Everyday World. In a way, I suppose you can consider it my poetic manifesto. I'm very interested in everyday things, the domestic, the small exchanges between people, the tiny moments that somehow change the way we think about it. 1. Not the developing, not the first, nor the third, not the new, not the old, nor the next, especially not the next, just the same world. The one we share here now, and our patient and impatient ancestors shared, and the world willing, which children in their smart new clothes or broken school shoes will share. But somewhere else, on a street corner perhaps, someone hears an accordion pressure air into melody, while the player tilts his head quizzically to hear his own embezzled sound. In the air tonight, like other nights, the rankness of khaki weed, rotting garbage, sweat after a long day's work. But also breathed is star jasmine's scented shadow.